think it's cliche to say I wish I started earlier. Yeah, I wish I started earlier. I started in 2008, 2009, jumping into the whole business and real estate realm. I wished I ventured in earlier and learned all that stuff because I grew up in a family that doesn't have much business experience, and therefore it's always okay, work hard at your job and stay into that job for the rest of your life. And my thing is really, yeah, if I was able to go back in time, I would tell my younger self, hey, look at this book now instead of 3 years from now or something like that. So that's my thing.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Founder. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great, I was going to say good guest, but they're all great guests. Great guest on the podcast, Fong Chua. And Fong started his founding journey. So he's working as with professional engineers, or was a professional engineering working in the oil and gas industry in Alberta, Canada, till the oil and gas industry started to take a downturn in 2008. About the same time, started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and also taking a few courses in the real estate business on how to do that himself. And then also started to build a team of experts and attorneys and accountants, and getting corporations founded and formed, and taking out some personal lines of credit, and then started to get good returns, and made the jump over to being full-time, and has been building a portfolio ever since, and finding success there. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Fong.
Awesome, thank you, and we're done.
All right, we're done. That's all we need. Everybody's life can be summed up into 30 seconds. So
exactly. No, that sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, excited to have you back on. So, and for those that haven't caught, so Fong has been on a couple of our sister podcasts, both The Inventive Journey and The Inventive Expert. So definitely encourage you to go check out his episodes there. But now as we dive into the founding journey, so tell us a little bit about how your journey got started, or your founding journey got started, working in the oil and gas industry in Alberta.
Oh, well, you pretty much summed it up in those 30 seconds, right? So, yeah, working in oil and gas in Edmonton, Alberta, our whole economy is based on oil and gas. So if it's good, then everything's good. Everybody's happy. If it's no good, then everybody's pissed off and not happy. And we were going through a downturn at that time, and therefore started looking into other options to see, what can we do outside of engineering to kind of balance our skill sets to just alleviate the pain if that's the case. So then got into real estate. But once you jump into real estate and entrepreneurship, you're going to have to find out, how do you protect yourself? How do you form companies? How do you talk to lawyers and accountants and all that kind of stuff? So we started to call a whole bunch of different lawyers, accountants, some references from other people, and just kind of found out who to work with and how to set it up correctly, what was more efficient of our time or funds at the time. Do we need to have so many corporations for so many houses, or should we just have the one corporation to start off with, and all that kind of stuff? So that's really how we got started.
So now let's rewind just a little bit on that. So oil and gas, I get it, takes a downturn. If that's what the local economy or the area is primarily focused on, then it certainly has a major impact into that area. So now, as you're doing that, seeing the downturn, I think if I remember when we chatted a bit before, started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad about at that time. Is that how you got interested in real estate and making that change? Because I mean, oil and gas to real estate is a reasonably different industry and a bit of a different jump. And so kind of how did you get into saying, well, maybe I'll go in that direction?
Well, it really opened my eyes reading that book, and therefore from that point, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, you read that one book and it's really basically a sales mechanism to get you registered for buying the game and into seminars and webinars and whatnot. So we followed that whole path, and then started realizing, hey, wait a minute, wealth is accumulated through real estate and through businesses, and if we want to accumulate and build some wealth, we need to be able to park that wealth somewhere that's protected and something that's tried and true. And real estate is something that I've seen lots of people be able to become successful in and also build their portfolios through real estate. So then I'm like, okay, let's take a look. Now, if my wife was listening, the actual story was she stood up and she went out to sign up for this package and to learn more about real estate. And I'm still sitting there calculating, okay, so the course is this much, and the course is 6-7 hours long. How much is it going to cost? And all that kind of stuff. And she's already signing up and said, well, I'm doing it with or without you, and I guess it's going to be doing it with me. So I stood up and joined her there. So then, yeah, we built our portfolio from 0 properties to about 22, 23 properties, over 32, 34 units. And then from there, started to kind of and more about intellectual property, building up our speaking engagements, and also started to do book writing and started coaching other people with how to do real estate. So then kind of had to expand on what our company and what our business is all about.
So now you say, okay, so wife kind of push in that direction. You say, hey, I want to go slower. I want to go quicker. Let's get into this. And so he said, okay, we're going to sign up, or we read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, probably a few other books along the way, started signing up for the seminars. Now walk us through kind of, what was that experience in getting that first real estate deal, or kind of, was it something where you signed up, you took out a mortgage on it and you started to flip it, or you started to rent it, or you took 2 years to find out just the right property, or you took 30 seconds to find the right property, or kind of walk us through that initial as you're kicking things off?
I remember the very first offer you put out there. It was a condo unit that was listed for, I believe, $130,000. We put in an offer for $90,000, knowing that for sure we lowballed. But we also knew that there's probably going to be a counter offer or something. But in reality, we were so freaked out of our minds that if it was accepted, we didn't know what to do. So we were scared that it was going to be accepted. But yeah, the person didn't even come back with a counter offer. But that's our first offer, first experience, and notice that we're missing something else. We're missing that coach. We're missing that person we could bounce ideas off of. And so we went out to find a coach. So that we're able to go, okay, is this what we're gonna do? Is this the offer we should make? Is there any risks involved and all that kind of stuff? And what can we expect after this is done? So then once we have somebody to bounce ideas off of, that fear kind of dissipating, because they were able to tell us, okay, this is what you can expect. So then once we got our coach in place, then we started going, okay, how do we build a real estate portfolio with either joint venture partners, with funds from lines of credit and all that kind of stuff. So one of our properties is from line of credit. We started using that as a down payment, but your funds can only go so far. Started to do joint ventures with other people, where we had a money partner, we had a person qualifying for mortgages, and then we kind of built it from there. Partnerships, joint ventures, and then started doing some bigger stuff like fourplexes and whatnot. So that's kind of the journey there. It was
how long? So you go from your first property. How long before you got your second property? How long before you continue to expand? Kind of walk us through that. Some people get into real estate and you'll have, you take it slow. The first thing you try and flip a house, or you try and build it and it goes awesome, and you go all in and buy a whole bunch. And other times people lose their shirt and they say, okay, maybe I'll go back to what I know or what I'm comfortable with. So kind of walk us through, what was that progression?
Within the first year, I think we accumulated 5. It was one of those things. Oh, the first one it didn't hurt. It's doing well. Let's do a second one. And then after you started finding the partners to put in place, you're able to build that portfolio pretty quickly. So within the first year, we got about 5. And then lots of people go, well, once you have 5, no mortgage person's going to talk to you because all the banks aren't going to lend you any money. Well, that's because you're not working with a mortgage broker who's able to extend your credit and other people's credit to other lenders. So then we were able to get more qualifying power. We were able to bounce more ideas off of our coach and whatnot. So then by the second year, we had about 12 properties. By the third, fourth year, we're in that 20 range. And then you start picking your favorites. And he's like, that area is not as good as we hoped it to be. And then we started downgrading some of those properties, selling some off and whatnot. So, yeah.
Now, over that period of time, was this all you and your wife? You guys jump in full time? Did you, incrementally make your way in? Did you hire a big team, kept it small? Kind of walk us through that part as well.
Oh, it's pretty much just my wife and I. We were still doing part-time real estate and still full-time engineering at the time. So really leveraging our time as much as we can, going out to webinars and seminars and networking events on weekends and after work and whatnot. And then keeping our team kind of just the two of us. And we do have a property manager that we had on our team. We had a real estate agent, a lawyer, an accountant on our team as well, and then use them as we see fit and as necessary.
No, it sounds like and now how did you, or just kind of diving, how did you find those people to bring onto your team? So whether it's the accountant, whether it's the attorney, was it word of mouth, was it a Google search, was it asking people in your network, or kind of how did you go out? You start out doing everything yourself because one, you don't have the bandwidth, two, you don't have the budget, and three, you don't know any better. But as you kind of start to expand or start to get that traction, certainly makes sense to bring on those that are more experienced, know more, and can help you to formalize it and get a lot better. And so how did you kind of go out and identify those people?
I gotta admit, and to be honest, that the lawyer was the hardest person to pick up the phone, because you get all these people telling you once you call them they start charging you. So I'm like, okay, what do I ask? Who am I to talk to a lawyer and all that kind of stuff? So finding the lawyer was a little bit difficult because of a whole bunch of limited beliefs and whatnot. So basically what we did was we found 5 or 6 real estate agents that we wanted to interview first. We met them at a Starbucks. We lined them all up one after another and kind of interviewed them, talked to them. And then after each interview, we also asked them, who do you work with, or who do you know that's a good mortgage broker? Who do you know that's a good lawyer? And then from there, we asked a whole bunch of mortgage brokers to sit down at Starbucks. And after 5 hours, we interviewed all 5 of them. And then we kind of picked and choose to see, okay, if we like this person, that person's worked well with that person, so let's keep this person on the team. And they worked well with that person who's a lawyer, so let's talk to that lawyer because we were referred to by the mortgage broker. So kind of our team got built that way. And because some of those relationships were already in place, it was nice because people already knew each other, and we were trying to keep everybody as close as we can so that we could work well together.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I like the idea of you kind of say, okay, we're going to go and ask get a whole bunch of lists from those people and get the next one, and then start to build a team. So not only are they good and experienced in that realm, but they also worked with the other people on the team and have that relationship or that level of trust. And so it sounds like it was a little bit of an investment on time and initially, but a great way to build that team. So now you build out that team, you start to build out the properties. Now I know you touched on it already, but how did you kind of decide when we're going to make this the full-time gig, or when we're going to make the leap and we're going to leave the other jobs? Or are you still working the other jobs and this is still the side hustle? Or kind of walk us through that a bit.
Well, I'm still involved with some engineering, depending on the project and the timeline and all kind of stuff. But the main deciding factor is really, okay, how much of the passive income is coming in, and can we leverage that income and take ourselves out of that job? And we've done that for for a period of time. And then if I still have connections with the engineering world, and if they, hey, there's a great project coming up, would you like to be involved? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I still like what I do, so I jump in and work on a project here and there. But yeah, really the governing factor is, okay, if we do a buy, fix, and flip, that could keep us going for a while. Let's double down and then do another buy, fix, and flip, or buy some more passive income places so that the cash flow keeps us going. And really, if you can budget that, then you can take yourself from that day-to-day 9 to 5 job.
No, it sounds good. So now, just to kind of curious, you already or illuminated on it quite a bit, but so what would you put as your percentage of how much do you spend on the passive income, doing the housing, doing all of the rentals, doing all of the real estate side, versus still doing some of the consulting work or the other or original work?
I would say it's around 75-25.
75 on the house side, I would assume. Yep. Okay. I would just wanted to make sure I did make the wrong assumption. So now walk it. So now that you've kind of walked us through, kind of how you got that founded. Now, if you were to say, kind of walking us through where you're at today, and you touched on that as well. Walk through kind of where are things at today, and kind of where do you see the things headed? Is it going to continue to be that split and the status quo, and kind of slowly grow, or are you looking to jump over there now, making that 90%, 10%, or build out the team, or kind of walk us through kind of where things are at today and kind of where they're headed?
Well, as of right now, I'm also building my consulting business where I coach people in branding, marketing, and business and whatnot. So I'm expanding on that sense. And eventually it's going to take me completely out of what I'm doing. There's no more 25% on the engineering side, unless something really intriguing comes up and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I would spend a month or two on that. But it's more of a freedom of choice kind of thing where I'm not forced to do it kind of thing, right? So that's where I'm going at right now, and being able to consult with people and help them achieve their goals and their dreams or their real estate goals and dreams, that'll be great too, because I remember myself at that point in time, and I owe a lot to my coaches and my mentors who's able to get me to my first, second, third deal. I like to do the same thing for somebody else, so that's where I'm at.
No, sounds awesome. Now, just curious, because you started out and your wife was involved, and she's still involved. She worked full time, part time. She's on or doing something else, and are heavily involved, or kind of where she was the one that initially pushed in that direction. What is her level of involvement?
On the real estate side, very minimal. She decided that that's not exactly what she wants to do. But during that process, she's found her own business in the health and wellness area, and so she's working on that side too. So we've branched away from solely being what do you call it, real estate, because once you for myself, the real estate side, you set it up, you have other people look after it, you have good tenants, it kind of takes care of itself. I like to spend more time working with people directly, and then also in the self space. So it's a lot more fun.
Hey, that sounds awesome. So now, just maybe just one follow-up question to that. So, how long did your wife, stay involved? I get it. She went off. Now she's doing the health and wellness, and kind of setting out on her own journey with that. That'd be fun to get in sometime as well. But for that, how long did she stay involved? Was it going to that first class saying, "Hey, you should do this," and now I'm out, peace out? Or is it she stayed there for a while, you got things situated in place, she found she didn't like it as much, you found you loved it, she went off and did her own thing? You're kind of walk us through what that progression looked like.
I think it was more of she liked more of the back end stuff. So she dealt with the numbers and the spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff on the real estate side. And then she's like, I don't really want to deal with tenants very much. So then that became my forte, where I built the relationships with the tenants, with the buyers, the sellers, and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I come in, and I enjoy that area a little bit more. So so that's how she kind of started to weed out from the real estate side, because then I started taking over the books myself, and then getting my accountant to look at it. So taking that off her hands.
Well, makes sense. Sounds like it was a good progression, and sounds like it was a good experience. And hey, you guys are still together, so you didn't kill each other as you were doing the business. So that's always a good ending. So
Yep.
awesome. Well, now as we've kind of reached the present day of the founding journey, and looking even to where things are headed, and then who's along for the ride. Great time to transition to the question I always like to ask towards the end of each episode. So the question I like to ask is, if you could, not that you can, but if you could go back to the early days of the business when you're just getting started, and you could make one decision differently, what decision would that be?
Oh, I think it's cliche to say I wish I started earlier. Yeah, I wish I started earlier. I started in 2008, 2009, jumping into the whole business and real estate realm. I wished I ventured in earlier and learned all that stuff, because I grew up in a family that doesn't have much business experience, and therefore it's always okay, work hard at your job and stay into that job for the rest of your life. And my thing is really, yeah, if I was able to go back in time, I would tell my younger self, hey, look at this book now instead of 3 years from now or something like that. So that's my thing.
No, and I think that, if you could always go back, I think most of the time, if you find that you love entrepreneurship, doing your own thing, whether it's passive, whether it's doing a startup, whether it's doing a small business or that, if you find that you're passionate about it, I think most people always look back and say, hey, I wish I started this earlier because I enjoy it. And it's a great path to enjoyment as well as to success. And so it's always one where you can look back and wish you'd be able to start earlier. But it's always one that, you know, if you hate it, then you're kind of glad you didn't start earlier. So it's a good one to hear. And I think
Although I'll add one more thing to that. I think I would have put in an offer to this one house that had that's known as the bowling ball house for us. Because you walk up the stairs, you see a big giant hole in one wall that you can stick your head through from the living room, and your head is now in the kitchen. And you look to the other side, and you realize there's a bowling ball stuck in the wall, and you go, okay, so that's how the hole came about. The place was trashed by the tenants, so should have probably put an offer into that because you could probably get a pretty good deal on it.
Awesome. Well, I like both of them, and sounds like some great decisions that you could have made differently, but also ones that you learned from and set you forward on your journey. And so, well, now as we're wrapping up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Well, you can find me all over social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Fong Chua. You can find me there. My YouTube channel is Your Area TV. You can find me on that, where I do a lot of my podcast episodes and also a lot of my videos, and reach out on one of those platforms and I'll respond.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to give you a shout out, make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Fong, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, the listeners are out there to help even more startups and small businesses along their journey to success. If you can click share, leave us a review, and click subscribe, helps us to reach those other startups and small businesses along their journey. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else for your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com. Grab some time with us to chat. We're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Fong, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.